tackle the global sanitation crisis. There are a lot of initiatives planned to raise awareness about the lack of proper sanitation facilities in the country. We're now joined by Henry Muchauraya, Unilever SA Homecare Director. Thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Peter, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, tell us a little bit about World Toilet Day. You know, a lot of people probably will think, what on earth is that?
Correct. Yeah. So World Toilet Day is a day that has been initiated by the United Nations quite a while back. Essentially, it's a day for raising awareness in terms of the sanitation issues at a global level. And of course, sanitation issues are a key issue for us here in South Africa. What we do know is there's 3,800 schools in South Africa with no proper access to sanitation and proper toilet facilities. So really an important day for South Africans, and specifically for this key issue that I mentioned within South African schools.
All right, so sanitation is a big issue globally, but you decided to focus on the pressing issue around sanitation in schools, because we've seen some terrible accidents and also children who really, are vulnerable because they don't have the facilities. So I just wonder, what brought Unilever to get this gathering together, and how did it go today?
Correct. So I think, as you mentioned, it went really well. It went really well, if I can start there. So I think the flush forum is still actually happening. I had to leave to come and join this session. Right. When I had left, we had raised almost 800,000 Rand worth of donations in cash and in kind to support, obviously, addressing the sanitation crisis. So I think in terms of why did we get involved, so I think as Unilever, we have the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan. So all the brands that we have at Unilever, we always have a purpose element to it. So of course, in our stable, we've got a brand called Domestos, which you find in a lot of homes and specifically in toilets in South Africa. So that brand was obviously very well positioned to tackle this issue of sanitation. Yeah? And I think, of course, what's now catapulted our initiative or our drive to really correct the issue is some of the recent events. So we know about baby Lumka, who unfortunately she drowned in a pit latrine. So this is something that's really fundamental to us, and we believe that this should not be happening in the South African society that we live in today.
All right. So what was discussed? What kind of interventions are we likely to see as a result of what you talked about today?
So there's many. There's some things that we will continue to do as Unilever and as the Domestos brand. So as an example, some of the interventions that you see going forward are items like running a janitor program. So there's a janitor program that we run across South Africa. So currently now we're impacting in 210 schools. The objective and our commitment is to explore that into over 500 schools. And I think our commitment also is what we want to continue in terms of educating not only the janitors, but our school children in terms of basic habits around toilet use and hygiene. Yeah? I mean, this is just a summary of some of the things.
So how can we eradicate, for example, pit latrines? This is something the President said to the Basic Education Minister, that they must be gone. So what can be done to make sure that they aren't there next year?
Correct. So I think this is, again, a real crisis on our hands. And I think the key thing here is for us to all to come together. Yeah, so it's about which was the purpose of the flush forum that was hosted in Johannesburg today, that we all come together as various people. The Department of Basic Education was there with us, others various stakeholders from the schools themselves, others various stakeholders in terms of corporate organizations. So I think the key is for not only Domestos, for not only Unilever, but how do we all come together and pledge financially, and not even just financially, but pledge our expertise in terms of eradicating these issues that you're referring to, Peter.
Did it come through what have been some of the reasons why it's taken so long to fix this?
Yes, so correct. I mean, obviously funding is an issue. Yeah, so even today, I think the key thing was about how do we, over and above the work that the Department of Basic Education is doing. So funding is a key component that we do require. I mean, let's be honest, to eradicate this. So again, so we also appeal to not just corporates, but every South African to donate to the various causes that we are doing to eradicate.
All right, we've run out of time, but by this time next year, World Toilet Day, we won't be talking about pit latrines at schools.
That's our goal, Peter. That's our goal. So I think that's our goal, and hopefully today's conversation with the various stakeholders ignited a fire So that is our intention and that is our commitment as Unilever and Domestos to really go forward and make a true impact in terms of addressing the sanitation crisis.
All right, Henry Muchauraya, thanks very much indeed. Tatenda shukuru for coming through. Thanks so much.
Maita, thanks, Peter.
All right. Okay, let's go back to Palesa. I think you're going to take us to Parktown, is that correct?
Yes, indeed.